Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Debt Life with me, Chad Van Horn. Today's topic is going to be seller's market. As many of you know, the seller's market in Florida is really, really hot. Buyer's market is very difficult. There's not too much inventory out there. So we're going to talk about, if you are a seller, different strategies that you can capitalize on this market. Now, throughout the talk, if you have any questions, you can certainly just post them on Facebook. I'll answer them as they come, or we'll save some of them to the end of the presentation. But before we jump into that, let's talk about current events, hot topics first. Back to school. I see the pictures coming up. First day of school. Kids are really excited. They got their hair done. Their new shoes, new outfits, looking great. Keep those pictures coming. Love the positivity that I'm seeing on Facebook. Alex, Cassie, your kids are cute. All of them. I'm going to leave a lot of kids out. So tons of cute kids out there going back to school. Hope they have a great first week and a great year in school, and hopefully they get to stay in school the entire year and we don't go back to Zoom school. So second, talk about a success that we had at the firm. Had a client that came in that had a ton of equity in their home, and their home was about to be foreclosed by a homeowners association. So when that happens, they potentially are going to lose out on all of that equity unless somebody bids a certain amount. So we were able to stop the foreclosure sale from moving forward, and then they were able to hire a realtor and get their equity out of the property without going through foreclosure. And we're going to talk more about that later in this episode as well. Now let's jump into it. Now, as many of my realtor friends, some that are watching this right now, know, it's not a buyer's market; it's a seller's market, meaning that there's not that much inventory out there. When the inventory comes up, many buyers are bidding for that, and there's multiple reasons for that. Obviously, Florida, Fort Lauderdale, especially, is an awesome place to live. Many people are leaving other states like New York, California to come here. And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want to be here? And then if you have a specialty house like one on the water or a single family home or whatnot, then you're going to have even more people that want to go there. So what does the seller's market actually mean? Basically, that means that there are more buyers than sellers right now. So there's not the inventory that we need to sell. So if you have a home that you're thinking about selling, there's a couple different things that you want to think about first. First, if you sell, where are you going to go? And how much equity are you going to have after the sale, taking into consideration closing costs like real estate commissions and whatnot. Also, taxes are a big issue. So if you own the property for more than 2 years, then there's something called a 1031 exchange that you might be able to do, which means you can just roll in the equity into another property without having to pay taxes. If you own the property for more than 1 year, then it can be considered long-term capital gain, which you get taxed at a much lower tax bracket in that manner. So, and then if you've lived in the property for 2 out of the last 5 years, then there's ways that you can keep a certain amount of money tax-free. I believe it's up to 250,000 per person on the property. So there's many different strategies that you need to employ even before you think about selling the property, because those timelines can cost you tens of thousands of dollars because the equity in properties has gone up, in some cases 50% over the last couple of years. So just be very, very careful and very strategic when it comes to cashing out. Also, a lot of my friends that are selling their properties, they're saying, well, where am I going to live? And many are moving into rental properties until they figure out what's going to happen with the market. And then maybe it becomes more of a buyer's market because, as many people know, and many people that are watching this, these markets are cyclical. So it's not going to be a seller's market forever. Eventually it'll go back to a buyer's market. But there's many reasons this is not going to be back like the 2007, 2008, 2009 foreclosure bubble crisis that we went through, and I'm going to address that as well. First, for the people that are falling behind on their mortgage, the forbearance ended. You were in that COVID forbearance where you didn't have to make payments. It ended, and the bank didn't work with you on a loan modification. The worst thing that you can do is do nothing, because at this point, you have equity in your home. So if you're unable to afford your home because of job loss or other reasons, that's when you want to start planning the sale of your property. You do not want to let it go to foreclosure, because if it goes to foreclosure, you're not going to get the full value out of your property. So I have a lot of realtors I talk to, Nikki, Jason Welt, who I was just talking to, Whitney, all you guys, there's plenty of fantastic realtors out there. So get with a professional to figure out the best strategies to sell your home. If it goes into foreclosure, And when I say goes into foreclosure, you've been served with a foreclosure lawsuit, make sure that you get to an attorney immediately. There's ways that we can advise you through the process, buy you enough time to sell the property, and if your job comes back, income comes back, we can negotiate with the lender to work out a loan modification. I've spoken about loan modifications before. What a loan modification is basically the lender is changing the terms of your mortgage to allow you to catch up on the payments and or lower the payments to make it more affordable for you. So, rule of thumb for mortgages: if for every $100,000 of mortgage, your payment's going to be somewhere around $500 a month, based on the current interest rates. So if you have a $500,000 mortgage, we're looking at around $2,500 a month. 200, you're looking at 1,000. Now escrows come into that as well when you're talking about taxes and insurance. But if you cannot afford, and the numbers based on that, so if you have a $200,000 mortgage and you can't afford $1,000 to $1,200 a month payment, then you really should start looking at cashing out and getting the equity out of your house, um, because those are the rules that they're going to look for. So to have $1,000 payment, you need to have a minimum of $3,000 worth of income coming into the household every month. So, who's eligible for a loan modification? Anybody that has the income to support it is eligible for a loan modification. So, if you have enough income based on that one third approximate amount, there are ways that loan modifications can save your home. And not just save your home for the short term, basically, it works out the long term as well. So, any back payments, usually the lender will put those on the back of the loan or put a balloon. What a balloon is basically it all comes due at a certain point. So before that balloon happens, you either need to save the money up or have a refinance strategy in place. So once you fall behind with your lender, make sure you're communicating with them, because there are options to save your home. If a loan modification, if for whatever reason loan modification is not an option, you've had them in the past, and the lender won't do another one, there are other options for keeping your home. Chapter 13 bankruptcy, which has been discussed before, is one of those options. So, filing a Chapter 13 is going to help you get reinstated with your current payment and then make up the back payments over a 36 to 60-month period. So, basically, if you were $6,000 behind in payments, you would pay that $6,000 over that 60-month period at $100 a month, and then it would reinstate your first payment. So if your payment was $1,500, it would reinstate that. You pay the extra $100 plus any trustee fees, and you get caught up over time. Obviously, the more that you're behind on your mortgage, the larger your payment's going to be. So that the Chapter 13 is best for people that had a hiccup in their income. They weren't, maybe you were unemployed, maybe there was medical issues that you went through, and then the mortgage company wouldn't work with you to get caught up. The Chapter 13 is a safeguard against people, mortgage companies taking your home. What I'm seeing a lot of it lately as well are the balloon mortgages coming due. So maybe you got a balloon mortgage 10 years ago, so they amortize it over 30 years. So basically, they made the payments look like they would go over 30 years, and then 10 years into it, the total amount is due. So what you need to do in those situations, if you know that that's coming, as said before, if you can save up the money to get it paid off, that's the best way to do it. If not, start looking at refinance options earlier, and it's a great time to refinance. So basically, what a refinance will do is it'll take that second mortgage or balloon mortgage and roll it all together with the first mortgage, and then you can re-amortize it over 10, 15, or 30 years. So then it becomes a traditional mortgage. Obviously, interest rates right now are the lowest that they've been. So this is a great time to do that. Do it at 2-3%. Try to lock in a fixed interest rate, because as you might see, there is inflation concerns right now. What inflation concerns will mean in the long term, interest rates will start going up. I mean, they're historically low. If you look at historically low interest rates, we're at it right now. So this is a great time to refinance. If you do not have equity in your home, so if you had a first mortgage that was 300,000, the value of your home's 250, and you have a second mortgage, through a Chapter 13, you can actually strip off that second mortgage. So there are options for people that don't have equity. Luckily, right now, most people have equity in their homes. I'm seeing a lot of old HELOCs and second mortgages that haven't been paid from the last crisis. What I'm recommending to many clients that are dealing with those is negotiating and settling those debts, because remember, the Supreme Court in Bartram has said that The statute of limitations of 5 years doesn't necessarily apply to mortgages and second mortgages and even HELOCs. So just be very careful when you're trying to refinance. I've had a couple clients come in, they thought that that second mortgage is gone, but it's still there and it shows up when you're trying to sell the property or when you're trying to refinance. So if you're thinking about doing either one of those and you had a second mortgage, make sure that you address that as soon as possible. I'm seeing great deals available because many of these mortgages have been bought by debt buyers at a discount and they're looking to cash out as well. But the best time to cash out is earlier than later, because they know that if you're selling the property or if you're refinancing it, they kind of got you. So make sure you jump on that early. Again, going back to the foreclosure timeline. So if you are served with a foreclosure summons, you have 20 days to respond. So if you don't respond in that 20 days, this is going to accelerate everything. So make sure that you, in that 20 days, respond, even if you're asking the court for more time. The court many times will give you an extension of time to respond. Then you want to come in, see me, we'll talk about different options. Generally speaking, the foreclosure process is not a fast process in the state of Florida or in Broward County. So your average foreclosure is probably running 8 to 12 months. On the long side, you're looking at years. On the shortest side, if you don't respond, you're looking at 4 to 6 months. So once a final judgment is entered, the court will set a sale date. And that's when it gets very serious, because if that sale date goes through, there's really no option other than redeeming the property to get the property back. Redemption means you're paying the full amount of the mortgage at once. And I would assume if you had that ability, you wouldn't be at the point where you're having a sale date. So make sure, take the foreclosure lawsuit very seriously. But once it gets to the sale date, that should be red alert, red alarms. Make sure that you're getting in here as soon as possible so that we can figure out the best way to save the equity in your home. Because remember, that equity could be tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Many people are utilizing that as retirement sources, so they're trying to pay off their home. And then if you can sell off your home and get that equity, you can invest it into another property, another homestead for you, and that money will actually be protected as well, as long as you don't commingle the funds. It's another important thing. I just had a client that came in, an old judgment was sitting out there. He was selling his homestead and getting a significant amount of money, $100,000 from the sale of the homestead. So he reached out to the creditor trying to do the right thing, and the creditor asked him, "Well, when are you selling it?" Gave him the information. He said, "Okay, we'll think about it." Then the creditor went and froze the bank account that had the homestead money in it. So if you are thinking about taking some of that money and settling with other debts, don't let the creditors know necessarily where the money is going to be, because they can garnish if they have a judgment, and that means freeze the account. The good news behind this story is, since that money was not commingled with other funds and it was homestead proceeds that will be used to purchase another homestead, we can claim the homestead exemption because it still applies to the money, which we're in the process of doing, and then we'll get those funds released so that they can utilize those for another homestead. So be very, very careful with homestead proceeds, because we want to make sure those are protected. You need a place to live, and honestly, places are just so expensive right now that you'll need every dollar you can to buy a decent place in South Florida. Last topic I want to talk about is associations. Associations, to me, are the most aggressive creditors at taking your home. So if you have the option between paying your mortgage company or paying your association, generally speaking, I recommend paying your association for a couple reasons. One, it's more affordable. Association payments normally are not near as expensive as the mortgage payment. Two, the associations are much more aggressive at collecting their debts. They can shut off your access to amenities like gyms, getting into the gate, and different things like that. And three, they can foreclose much faster than the mortgage companies. There are not as many defenses to an association foreclosure as there are to mortgages. So if you fall behind on your HOA, what you need to do is, first off, again, communicate with your HOA and see if you can work out plans. If it's a temporary setback, you had a job loss, medical, whatnot, work with the HOA as soon as possible to work out a payment plan. The worst thing you can do is litigate and fight with your HOA unless you have a significant claim and you know it's a slam dunk claim. The reason being is, not only will you pay for your attorney's fees, but if you lose, you pay for their attorney's fees, and it's secured against your property. So basically, it's a double loss for you, and then you lost all the equity or a majority of equity in your property from fighting it. So you want to stop the bleeding as quickly as possible, because once you're in default, then default interest, default fees, attorney's fees, collection fees all start adding up, and all of that eats away at your equity. So communicate with the HOA. If that doesn't work, make sure that you come see me, and then maybe we can negotiate something out for you. Um, Most people don't realize that only if you only fall a few payments back on your HOA, they can actually file a foreclosure action. And then once they file the foreclosure action, then you have court fees, attorney's fees, and it becomes more difficult to settle. So make sure you settle as soon as possible. Chapter 13 is an option for association fees as well. Basically, you can extend it out over time. I always tell clients it's better to avoid the Chapter 13 if you can and just make a deal, especially when it's coming to one creditor. But if you have a ton of creditors, obviously Chapter 13 is the best way to go. If you have any questions, make sure that you ask. Um, Most importantly, and I know it's been a stressful 18 months over the last 18 months, try not to avoid these issues, because these are the issues that are going to set you up for future failure or success. Um, if you have owned a property and you've owned a property for a couple of years now, it may be time to at least go on Zillow and check out what your property might be worth. Companies like Zillow right now are even buying your property and will give you offers, which makes it super simple and takes out some of the closing costs. So you won't have the real estate commissions and whatnot. So it's not always a bad deal if you're trying to do a quick flip. Another thing that applies for vehicles right now. Do not let your vehicle get repossessed. Used vehicle prices are through the roof right now. So if you're falling behind on your vehicle, same thing. Go to CarMax, Carvana, some of the online vendors or whatnot, and get a price for those, because you'd be surprised what some of these vehicles are worth right now. Going through bankruptcy and bankruptcy consults, I'm blown away what the values are coming back at. So. As always, if you need anything, I'm here for you. You can email me directly, chad@cvhlawgroup.com. You can go to vanhornlawgroup.com. We have some helpful information there as well. If you can do me a favor, shout out to Andrea for setting up our new website. Check out our website. Let us know what you think. Also, follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We're pumping out a lot of good information out there that are helping a ton of people. If you need to contact the office, our phone number is 954-637-0000. We're up to 3 books right now, so if you want any of our books, you go to freebankruptcybook.com or thedebtlife.com and check out our books. And as always, thank you for joining me in this episode. I'll see you guys again in 2 weeks, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks.